Commission for Thursday, September 3rd. Can we have a roll call, please?
Chair Flake.
Here.
Commissioner Gordon.
Here.
Commissioner Grand.
Here.
Commissioner Schuler. Absent. Commissioner Bloomer.
Here.
Commissioner Ellis. Absent. Commissioner Riggs.
Elizabeth, I think you might be muted. But...
I just asked her to unmute by pressing a button. There we go.
Hi, Elizabeth here. Sorry, I was muted.
There we go.
Present.
Commissioner Boggs.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Great, thanks. The first item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. And someone want to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Thanks, Roseanne. Oh, it looks like Robert said second. I thought he was muted, but I saw his move.
Seconded.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. Moving on to approval of the minutes, and Remy, there were a number of minutes from previous meetings that Remy had sent out. There were minutes from the December 5th, 2019 meeting, February 6th, 2020, June 4th, 2020, and August 6th, 2020. I hope that you all got a chance to review those. Are there any changes to those minutes? I did review them prior to this meeting. No changes.
I found one, Jennifer.
Okay.
On the 6-4, under C9, it reads and it should read while the city contributed funding. Does that make sense?
Great. Yep. Makes perfect sense. Thanks,
Okay.
Roseanne. Got that, Stephen? If that's okay. Any other changes to the minutes? Okay, so does someone want to make a motion to approve all of the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Julie is in support from Jason. Great. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? The minutes are approved. Moving on to public commentary. Stephen, you'll let us know if anybody is on the line. Nobody is there. Okay, so we have no public commentary. Moving on to old business. I don't think we have any old business. Just looking at my notes. And new business. Remy is going to talk about the fiscal 20 Regional Conservation Partnership Program proposal overview and recommendation. Take it away, Remy.
Okay. Hey, everyone. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Share my screen and let's get to it. Everyone with me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So we'll just launch right in. We talked a little bit at our last meeting about the RCPP proposal coming up. The deadline is November 4th, so 2 months from tomorrow. Wish us luck if you should make a recommendation tonight. But to start, let's review the distinctions between our two largest pools of federal funding that we draw from. One is the Agricultural Conservation Easement Program, specifically its sub category of funded activities called agricultural land easements. The city has been awarded over 15 million in ASEP funds since 2005. The acronym changed back when we protected Roseanne's farm. It was FRPP. But over the years, the intent has been the same. It's permanent protection of agricultural lands across the United States. There's minimum funding, or there's a limited funding available. It's not 100% of the easement value or the development rights value. It's only 50%. And there are eligibility requirements for the properties that are being applied for. But how it works is we, along with all the other land protection entities, government or nonprofit in the state, apply for the state pool of funds that are divvied up from the Farm Bill to the state NRCS offices to rank the top competitive applicants in a given year statewide. So the competition is statewide. You submit for a specific property, and then you are awarded based on the score of that property and its ranking among the pool of applicants in that given year. So we've had a really strong track record with ASEP. It should be noted that the city is probably one of the most notable national partners for NRCS in terms of the ASEP program. We have led and been partner to 33 ASEP easements since 2005. It's truly remarkable the amount of land we've protected. But generally speaking, the limitation is that you are beholden to the competitiveness of your parcel in that state pool each year. So in 2014, the Regional Conservation Partnership Program was established through the 2014 Farm Bill, and NRCS had now established a new program to have one facet of what that program does is permanent land protection through conservation easements, again with 50% of the funding coming from NRCS. And the land eligibility now under the 2018 Farm Bill, which changed the RCPP rules from the 2014 Farm Bill, means that the partners ourselves, we get to define what land is or is not eligible or a priority. So how it works is instead of having a statewide pool, a group of partners develop a geographic focus area and then guarantee matching funds to NRCS in that area to deliver certain delineated deliverables instead of individual projects. So in our previous RCPP work in this region, we have set it as our target goal to deliver on 9 conservation easement projects totaling 900 acres or so on and so forth, something along those lines, instead of lining up the properties ahead of time. But by doing so, we limit the competitiveness of the pool to that geographic area and are able to discern among all of us collaboratively, the partners at the table, which projects we do or do not wish to fund with these RCPP dollars. So since the first RCPP was applied for in this region in 2017, the city secured $1.25 million in RCPP funding. The key to a successful RCPP proposal is why can't the same goals of this RCPP be accomplished through an existing program like ASEP? So innovation is key and illustrating to NRCS why you and the partners are able to more effectively deploy NRCS funding and services into the ground as opposed to going the normal route with the traditional statewide pool. RCPP is broken up into critical conservation areas across the United States. We are in the Great Lakes region critical conservation area, of which the environmental concerns are water quality, degradation, and wildlife habitat preservation or loss. So there's now 360 million available nationally. Proposals are capped at 10 million. One partner in each RCPP will be designated as the lead partner, which means they're responsible for putting the proposal together, coordinating the support, and then coordinating reporting and deployment ultimately of the funds among all the other several partners. So the proposals need to address the resource concerns that are identified in these critical conservation areas, and then develop a collective strategy using RCPP funded tools to accomplish those goals. And in our case, there are several tools available to us: land management, land rentals, entity held easements, so City of Ann Arbor or partner held easements, or United States held easements, or partnerships with public works and watershed groups. We, of course, are emphasizing work on entity held easements because that's what we do best and are a consistent partner for NRCS. The identified resource concerns in this critical conservation area are non-point source pollution, as is indicated by the harmful algal blooms cropping up in Lake Erie over the last decade or more. Land conversion, that is a picture of Canton, close to home, and habitat loss and fragmentation. So zooming in, that's the landscape level, regional level of what are the concerns in our critical conservation area as delineated by our NRCS. But you can actually see it on our map. Ann Arbor is perfectly situated to experience the pressures of this and has experienced the pressures of this for many years. As you can see, we are on the edge of what Google Maps at least indicates is relative open space to relative urban development in the sprawling Metro Detroit area. And on the map, aerial imagery shows that our work on the eastern boundary of the Greenbelt district is imminently threatened by what is pushing in from Plymouth Canton area and Metro Detroit. We are on the precipice of that connectivity and protecting what remains between that sprawl and the city itself. So while we have those recognized and documented challenges in our region of Southeast Michigan, we also have documented success, which is one of the reasons we may be a competitive draw for additional NRCS funding to the region, is because we have demonstrated time and time again that we are a partner that can effectively utilize this NRCS funding. So from 2000 to now, we have significantly changed the permanent conservation landscape in the Ann Arbor area. And it's not limited to our success. Together with our partners, Washtenaw County, South Township, Webster Township, Ann Arbor Township, Legacy Land Conservancy, Southeast Michigan Land Conservancy, and more, we have collectively added 18,000 acres of protected land to the Washtenaw County map since 2000. 68% of which is purchase of development rights through conservation easements. So we are addressing the approach of that development pressure, that habitat loss and fragmentation, and the lands that we preserve the headwater and upstream water quality preservation for downstream implications in Lake Erie. So because of these demonstrated challenges and demonstrated successes in our area, we've been awarded 2 RCPPs in the past. The first was the Huron River Initiative that Legacy Land Conservancy spearheaded. The target deliverable was 400 acres permanently protected, and we're on track to deliver 624 acres. So well over above projected net land protection outcomes. And then next, the following fiscal year in 2018, the Greenbelt, the city spearheaded as lead partner a new RCPP proposal that put forth the goal of 340 acres protected, and we are on track to deliver 400 acres. So combined, we're looking at 2.8 million in NRCS funds, matched by over 2.8 million in local funds, for a combined $5.6 million investment in this landscape to protect over 1,000 acres of land. So we have a good track record. NRCS decided that this fiscal year 20 would be combined with fiscal year 21 proposals. So if we don't submit an RCPP proposal this year, we're going to have to wait 2 years before another round comes available to us. So there's more money available in the pot nationwide to go for right now. So it's within our interest to go and seek a large ask while we are building on the momentum of the success from the 2 prior RCPPs in this area. So the new proposal that I am putting forth would be a combination and expansion of the 2 prior RCPPs work. So it would expand to the entirety of the Huron River watershed and the River Raisin watershed. As I mentioned in August's meeting, we secured 1.75 million for a Salem Township conservation easement on 375 acres. That represented 56% of the available ASIP funding in the state. And together with Scioto Township and Legacy Land Conservancy, who were also awarded ASIP funds, we pulled Southeast Michigan, this target RCPP area, pulled 80% of the available ASIP funding to our corner of the state. So there is a demonstrated ability and need by the partners for easement funding. And with 50% of the population on 6% of the land base and it ever sprawling and continuing to sprawl, it's critical now that we preserve the green infrastructure and farmland that provides us that critical lifeline for food systems and water quality preservation in the two watersheds that are most threatened by the sprawling metropolitan Detroit area. So we already have highly collaborative partnerships, and we want to continue on the success of those partnerships. The one thing we lack, I think, for as much success as we've had is a tool by which to transcend dollars and acres. We talk in dollars and acres all the time. It's the easiest way to measure our work. But we can innovate through an RCPP and partner with entities that can help us quantify directly the water quality benefits of the individual projects that we do. So the proposal looks like we've identified the partners, which we'll go over them. We've identified the project area. We know that we're going to be heavily emphasizing easements, but other partners will want to endeavor to do other RCPP funded activities, which I can get into. And ultimately, those outcomes from those activities will address the resource concerns of water quality degradation and wildlife habitat loss and fragmentation. So here's the draft list of partners as it exists right now. So we've got a really nice spread of expertise and function in this area. And here's the outline of what we're suggesting with our proposal. Is step one is protect the land. That's the basis. And we are projecting that through this RCPP, we could protect over 2,500 acres of land, should we be successful in securing the funds. So that represents all of the partners that will be doing easement work combined in the outcomes. And if you remember, with $2.8 million, we were able to protect 1,000 plus acres, and we will be going for a much larger ask this round. Complementary is step two. The efforts that we push for cannot end at land preservation. It needs to go beyond that and push additional measures on the ground to increase water quality outcomes of the work we do. So in partnership with the Washtenaw County Conservation District, the Lenawee Conservation District, and the Huron River Watershed Council, we would make sure that the producers, the farmers that we work with on permanent protection projects also are aware of two major programs in this area that can help move the needle on water quality issues and reduce regulation, which is the MEAP program, Michigan Agricultural Environmental Assurance Program, which is intended to help producers minimize the risks that their farms and operations pose to the watershed. And then the Whole Farms for Clean Water program, which is a pay for performance program being piloted by the Huron River Watershed Council. So we will get the land protection work done, and we will push through our outreach and engagement of those farmers to have additional benefits through enrollment in these other programs. Then finally, in a partnership that we're trying to put together with the Institute of Water Research at MSU, there is an online platform called the Great Lakes Watershed Management System that has served other RCPPs in Michigan in developing quantitative measures for the work that they've been doing on the ground. So we need to be able to report on this. This is critical for the future of our work. Dollars and acres is can be motivating, and the before and after maps that we put together are obviously indicative of success. But we can move into a finer granular level of reporting in terms of the non-point source pollution benefits that keeping land in its natural form offers a watershed and the Great Lakes region. So this is the Great Lakes Watershed Management System, and these are the watersheds that this tool is available for use in. Many of these watersheds are available simply because the RCPP funds through NRCS were the catalyst for getting the work done to expand the models into these watersheds for use. And so you can see there's a critical gap. Currently, the model is available in the River Raisin watershed, but just north, where we anticipate doing more than half of our work likely. There's no mapping or there's no system built out for analyzing work done in the Huron River watershed. But once the RCPP, if we are successful and we are awarded an RCPP, NRCS will hopefully fund the build out of that model. And when you are looking at a proposed project, you can draw the area of that parcel of the one we are considering protecting and anticipate what will be the phosphorus, nitrogen, and other non-point source pollution benefits of conserving that land in its current form, as opposed to an alternative land use scenario, such as single family housing or commercial development or residential. So it will help us quantify better and the true value of our work in terms of ecosystem services across the landscape. So in partnership with the Institute for Water Research, we will create a customized framework that focuses directly on easement work and how it has moved the needle in the work that we've done in these two watersheds through the RCPP. So again, this is the overview of what we're proposing, the basis of which is permanent land protection driven by additional water quality improvement measures in partnership with other entities in our region, and then a new innovative way for reporting the benefits of all that work. And here's what your piece of the puzzle is. The Greenbelt has averaged annual revenue about 1.1 million over the last 5 years. And so we need to ask ourselves, what are we willing to commit to this RCPP, which has a 5-year lifespan? And then what are we able to deploy and actually get in the ground based on the staff limitations that we have? So over the last 5 years, the Greenbelt spent 3.7 million on permanent land protection projects, complemented by 5.3 million in partner expenditures. So we have put in an average about into about 5,300 an acre for the development rights. The number of federally funded projects over the last 5 years was 9, and we averaged 83 acres per project. So with those averages and the estimated revenue we have and the estimated ability we have to actually get that money in the ground, I think it is a very reasonable commitment to say that the Greenbelt would deliver on 9 federally funded RCPP easement projects, averaging 80 acres. We have seen the price of development rights increase in the last year. So in anticipation of that, raising the estimated per acre with a net city contribution to the RCPP proposal of 3 million to be matched 1-to-1 by NRCS's easement funds. So for your recommendation prior to this, you can ask any questions you would like about the RCPP proposal, how it's structured, the partners' roles, the city's role, how I crunched the numbers, but that's the general overview of this proposal.
Wow. Thanks, Remy. It's a lot of work. Thanks for that thorough overview, which I have seen a draft of during our meeting. Remy and I met to talk about this beforehand. So Do people have questions for Remy? It's a lot of information to take in. It's a lot of work to put together this federal proposal, so I appreciate that. I think it's, in my opinion, I think it's doable based on our history and our work with our partners. So, and it's great to see that new innovation work happening with the Institute of Water Research at MSU. And I think Elizabeth has to jump off soon. She may have a conflict coming up, so questions for folks?
Jen, you're right. I do. Excuse me. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. I am sorry. I'm going to have to jump off. I will follow up with looking at the meeting communications. Just one quick question on what Remy just presented, which is amazing, very exciting. I'm just curious to know, maybe it was on a slide that I couldn't see, but who are you working with at MSU, at the Institute for Water Resources?
Jeremiah Asher would be our point of contact and has been the point of contact for other RCPPs in the state over the years.
Okay.
But yeah, it would be IWR itself, I guess, as a whole would be the partner, and the tool would be the Great Lakes Watershed Management System.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think it's worth mentioning that should we be successful and secure RCPP funding for ourselves and the partners in this region, that does not preclude us from or exclude us from applying for ASEP funds for other projects that we feel are going to still be competitive in the state pool. So we can strategically utilize the funding on a project by project basis and decide whether it's a good fit for the RCPP and the outcomes that are being sought in the RCPP, or if a project actually makes better sense for the state pool. So we still have both pools of funding available to us, but if we don't go for the RCPP, we won't have those guaranteed funds available for us. And to let you know, our draft commitment here being proposed is $3 million. That actually is the same draft commitment that is being proposed by Washtenaw County. And then several other partners, the townships, Legacy, and others. In all, the partners are going to be proposing contributing $11.3 million in cash and in-kind contributions to match NRCS's $10 million. And there are not many $10 million proposals in the US. We are going big here, and rightfully so, because we can. There aren't a lot of RCPPs that can bring this much cash to the table to match NRCS's dollars. A lot of it would be in kind, but between cash and in kind, I think we're going, and the impacts that we are proposing, I do think this will be a competitive proposal, and I'll certainly work with every partner to make it as competitive as possible. And if we do submit by the November 4th deadline, we would find out by March 2021 as to whether or not we've been selected to enter into negotiations with NRCS to have a final TBD amount awarded.
Is there a breakdown somewhere of the proposed partner contribution?
No, when I was putting this presentation together, those were in flux. Those have actually come in over the last few days. Okay. And so I can send that out. It's going to be finalized here. I'm really waiting until the partners submit their official letters of contribution commitment to put that in a budget. But once I have all the commitment letters bundled, I can send you guys the draft proposal budget so that we know what we're working with.
Okay, thank you. And can you just walk us through like process from here?
Yeah. So your recommendation would head to council, ideally the first half of October. Yeah. And then that would be authorization to apply to the RCPP. and then I would submit November 4th. By November 4th, please let me submit it well before then. And I would work with the fund throughout that. The fund's government relations division has an NRCS expert who is invaluable in working through these proposals, understands what proposals are taking place across the United States, and really can help us craft the most competitive proposal as the lead partner, the city being the lead partner. So I'll be working very closely with my colleagues at the Conservation Fund to make this as competitive as possible. Submission November, and then find out about selection in March, and then enter into negotiations for the total award amount in likely June of 2021. And then starting in June 2021, we would have 5 years to fulfill our commitments and spend down the available funds from the RCPP.
Thank you. That's incredibly helpful. And I think framing it not as like 3 million to get 3 million, but like 3 million to get 10 million.
10 million.
Yeah. Sounds cooler that way.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's in the end, we're talking about if it's matched by NRCS's 10 million and we're bringing 11.3
It's
to
really
the
like
table.
20 million, right?
It's a
Yeah.
$21.3 million investment.
Yeah.
Coordinated in the landscape.
Sorry, I messed that up. Even cooler to say that. Yeah. Thank you.
That's great. Any other questions? All right. Remy, do you want to bring back that recommendation page?
Yes.
Okay. So does someone want to make this recommendation?
I would be happy to.
Great. Go for it, Robert.
I would recommend City Council approve an application to the USDA full year 2020 Regional Conservation Partnership Program, that's the RCPP, in partnership with Washtenaw County Parks and Recreation Commission, Ann Arbor Township, Scioto Township, Webster Township, and others to secure funding to complete RCPP-funded purchases of development rights, PDR, conservation easements, and committing up to $3 million of open space and parkland preservation millage funding as match from the June 2021 to June 2026.
Is there support?
Support.
Thanks, Roseanne. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Great. Unanimous.
Yay.
Thanks
Thank
so much,
you.
Remy. Very, very excited.
Great work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so much work and fingers crossed. We actually did have something on old business, which I failed to mention, which was at our last meeting, Commissioner Grant had mentioned a support letter for the NAP, the upcoming millage renewal for the NAP program. So I have drafted with Remy's assistant a letter of support, and Remy is sharing that letter now for all of you to review and approve. So if you want to just take a minute and read through this and let me know if you have any tweaks. The numbers and the number of projects come from Remy, and actually most of this does, but he made it very easy for me to tweak. So let's just take a minute here to read through this. Remy will also email it out after the meeting. Everybody get a chance? look good. Any suggested tweaks? All right.
Thank you for doing that. That's great.
Sure, I'm glad you suggested it. There's going to be a lot of outreach done by NAP and NAP partners over the next month. I've had a couple of meetings with NAP and the partners to talk about those efforts. So I would like to, and Remy, I don't know, we didn't talk about this, but I would like to post some of the information that NAP is going to be sending the partners, including us. They have like a toolkit and they're putting that together. And I'm wondering if there's they have some suggested social media posts that I would like to share on the Greenbelt Facebook page. I'm not sure how much activity we get, but then I can also post it on my own personal social media pages.
I think as long as it's educational and just
Right, just
Well,
talk
as long as
about
it's
the number of projects that have happened with support through this
Right.
partnership.
yeah, I think that's typical millage. We just can't advocate on the city page to say you should vote for this, but it can say, did you know that this project, do you know that this millage helped pay, or these are some of the partnerships we've had, that sort of thing. So I don't know if you've seen signs around the city, like this tennis court was,
Right,
like resurfaced with your millage. So I think it's just you can show what the millage dollars have paid for.
yeah. Similar to the sign at Green Things Farm.
Yeah, right.
Great. Okay, sounds good. Okay. Moving on to, next agenda items. Does anybody have any suggested items for our next meeting? Okay, not at this point. We are not having a closed session because there are no proposed land acquisition projects at this time. Public commentary, I don't think there's anybody else online for public commentary. Report from commission committees. The executive committee report is next, and Remy and I talked last week to talk about this agenda, and he went through the RCPP application with me, so I had a heads up on what's in that proposal. Communications committee, I think, is not currently active, and so they have not met. And the scoring committee is also on a hiatus with Sheila's schedule with school. And so last item on the agenda is adjournment. So does someone want to make a motion to adjourn?
So
I would-
moved.
Second.
Okay, Roseanne and Robert, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? We are adjourned. Thanks so much, everybody. Good to see you.